Howdy, my name is D3 Damage and Moamau, and I'm here to tell you why you should play open sometimes. Short version, the game's a gotcha. You don't always have a ton of time. The game requires a lot of time, and I want you to be able to do something else. But I'm going to give you a slightly better breakdown, and in another video, I'm going to tell you how to play open a little bit better. For now, though, let's get the basics out of the way. One, you love Uma. Hell, you're still playing when everyone else quit, so I know you love Uma, but I know you're probably feeling pressure, right? Uma takes time, a lot of time. So I want to try and give you some small demonstrations on what Open can do for you at least some of the time. Now, who am I? I am the Open champion. I am routinely the number one Open global player in the world. I can play graded. I choose not to. Why? Well, frankly, my cards suck. For a very long time, up until like December, my best speed card was regular Silent Suzuka. Frankly, what these six cards you see in front of you are what a lot of my deck used to look like. And you might go, oh, well, why didn't you just pull for TS on black? I did. I went to pity. It turns out the gotcha system for Uma is pretty vile. I don't want to go into it too much, but suffice to say, the lack of carryover pity and the complete inability to guarantee a result is pretty bad. Like, if you compare this to Heroes of the Storm, for example, yes, in Heroes of the Storm, you need to spin to win to get certain characters, but eventually you can just pay them directly to unlock a character. You can't do that in Uma. You have to go all the way to pity, and there is no carryover if you miss. Uh, Also, notably for me, I wasn't scared of a calculator. I used to be a geometry teacher. It just does not bother me to type numbers into something that's already in English. Yes, there used to be only Japanese calculators, but hey, we've got English calculators now. You don't need to be scared of those big, bad, scary number machines anymore. Uh, Now, again, I kind of hinted at it earlier, but the number one reason why I think people should think about doing open sometimes is just the number of runs you need to send. I love Uma, I love playing Uma, but damn does it eat up my time sometimes. Especially if like I want to do anything else, right? Like heck, let's just say I want to do team trials. I want to make my team trial stuff to set up and improve, right? Uh Having to figure out my team trial stuff while also figuring out my graded CM for Scorpio Cup was a nightmare, right? But hear me out. What if you play open? I'm not kidding when I say that, like, okay, for for Scorpio Cup, I sent just shy of a couple, like 120 runs, right? I'm not even showing you my Grass Wonder ones. My Bourbon runs didn't even make it into my final CM, right? That I was going to run in the first place. This is a gross underestimation of like how many runs I sent. Again, because my cards are not very good, right? Like, and the thing is, even if you have great cards, though, like I'm in a whale Discord slash support only free to play, where support only free to play means that like they don't buy Uma, they only buy support cards, and even then only meta support cards, right? So they're really good at like managing their carrots, right? They have the exact same experience that I do, where like to compete at a really high level, they send hundreds of runs every month, right? The minimum requirement is basically at least 2 to 3 runs per day to meet their club requirements, right? And even for them, they report very similar numbers to what I report here, right? And I compare that to Open, where I literally did 2 runs to prepare for Sagittarius Cup, and even then, I didn't have to do this freaking goal sheet. Okay, like this goal sheet was complete ego, right? I did not have to run her. I already had a basically perfect goal sheet for Open that I sent this because I wanted long S. I didn't need to do it, right? Uh, I got the Turf S long S Daiwa Starlet on my literal first try. I had an air groove that was already ready to rock from the previous cup. Okay, I need you all to understand how simple it is to build for open, and how much that has contributed to my personal team trials. Again, I don't have a very good card set, like at all. Okay, if you can think of a meta speed card in your head, Kiasan Black, Sakura Bakushino, you can think of the non free to play version of Silent Suzuka. You can think of the uh, Kawakami Princess, right? Like Bigo Pegasus, any individual speed card that you can think of, I either only have a 1 LB copy of it or less, or I don't have one at all, right? And I'm still in Class 6. I've been in Class 6 for months, right? I can count, I think on my hand, any given, series. Like, how often have I dropped out of Class 6? Basically, 3 times, right? And that was over the course of, like, the past year, right? Like I'm doing really good for myself, just consistently using my time to invest in my team trial instead of into my CM cups, right? Now, why? The why is really short. I'm gonna trust you all to read. I have faith in y'all's ability to read, but here's a really short version, right? Uh, In graded, there is no ceiling, okay? There is no top in graded. That means routinely you can't recycle anything, right? Any Uma that you make that was good for one CM probably won't be good for the next one. And even if she is, she's probably outcompeted by newer cards or a new scenario or new Uma, right? They just come out consistently. Uh, versus open, where no one knows anything, right? This is a really big contributing factor to a lot of like what's going on here, right? Where like people don't quite know what the ceiling is because frankly the ceiling, well, it's fixed, right? Like you can only get so many skills and so many stats before you run out of numbers. And there are Uma that just frankly dominate in that environment because they don't need anything else. They just need their ult, maybe one or two skills, and they can just shove stats in, and then they do really well, right? And you'll notice at least one of those is free to play. Hi, Major Orion. Special shout out to Goldchip, by the way. Goldchip, my goat. Uh, Now, with that in mind, you might go, okay, well, if there really are so few conditions, right? If it really is just this simple to go from graded to open, and open just requires less of you because there's a ceiling and you don't need to constantly be remaking stuff. Well, where does this reputation of being sweaty come from? Huh, Mr. MLB? Well, frankly, I think I know. One, here's what you need to understand, right? Okay, in graded global, many of the people that are making content for us already were winning in JP, and and even the ones that aren't, like they get their information from all the same sources. They know how to read. They have great access to documents. Right. We are unironically drowning in information. We know the basic math behind everything. Shout out to 71M3, Mumu, and Victoria Frontier. Okay, like on Game Tour, my beloved. Okay, the information you need to win is legitimately everywhere for graded, right? In fact, it's so common that there's entire subgenres that aren't Mumu that they're not any of the people I listed, okay? There are entire people who all they do all day is they make fun of other people's Uma and like talk about how, oh, you don't own an air fryer. No MLD Kita-san black. Fucker. Right? Like they spend all their day making fun of people, right? In open, like, this doesn't exist, right? There is no content creator base for open, and I think that's everything, right? There there is right now, to my knowledge, just 71M3 who literally only made a single video talking generically about open. It's not even like a dedicated guide like the Sagittarius Cup or Libra Cup guide is, right? For 71M3. And even then, that guide that they made for open doesn't make any bloody sense unless you've also seen all of their mechanics guides on how the frick anything actually works, like the skill trigger chance, HP consumption. No, seriously, guys, y'all need to check out 701 and 3. They're so good, so good, right? Versus open, like okay, graded versus open. Graded, you know what you need. You need max speed. You need the correct amount of stamina and guts. You need as much power and wit as possible, right? Bar none. In open, no one has any idea. These are all examples of stat lines in open that have done very well for themselves. Roughly speaking, all of these Uma have at least won 20 races by themselves. If you didn't know, I'm going to inform you now. The average win rate in graded always hovers between 16 and 33%. You may go, wow, that's really low. Yes, I know. uh, Frankly, the average win rate in grade is abysmal, right? And that's as a team, by the way. It's not like, oh, 33% on one Uma. No, 33% on a team of three Umas total, right? So all of these open Uma here, all six of them have a better win rate than your average graded player. Okay, and this leads me to I think where like 90% of this comes from. All right, I think 90% of the problem is that you have to do a lot of experimentation yourself. You have to test things. You have to try stuff out. If it doesn't work, you need to try start over. Right? That's where 90% of the open players are sweats comes from. Okay, despite the fact that arguably like it's really just three choices. Do you want stats? Do you want skills? Or you want something in the middle? That's where like all of the work is for open. There's not necessarily a correct choice. It's a really big tug of war. The general consensus seems to be that the longer the race is, the fewer skills you want, and the more you just want just stat block and a stat line. While the shorter the race is, the more skills you want. That's the general consensus so far. But it's hardly set in stone. In the same way that like grade is set in stone. Now, what I will say, please don't misunderstand me. I know it's really easy, but I'm going to beg you your forgiveness, all right, for saying so. I am not telling you to never play graded, and I am also not telling you to only do open. That's not what I'm saying, okay? I am telling you that if you win consistently in graded, then keep doing graded. It's reasonable. But if you are stressing out, or if you're starting to burn out, or if you're having a really tough time and have a win rate that's below that 33% margin, it's probably a good idea to switch over to open at least some of the time, right? Because I'm going to point this out. Yes, the rewards are better and graded, but only if you win. The way that CMs work, the more wins you get, the more stuff you get. Okay, and if you don't win, you don't get stuff. Right? There's definitely a certain point where there's no way 64 losses or more on a CM is worth 10 carats a day. Okay, like there has to be a breaking point where you go, okay, well, maybe I should just do something else, right? And like I don't know why this never brought up before, but like, hey, if you didn't know, graded B and open A have the exact same rewards. 5 wins in open A is the exact same amount of carrots, statues, monies, and support points as if you did graded B. All right. And please, before you say, "Oh, but the min maxers," you think there aren't mix and matchers in graded? Are you crazy? I've actually run into it. I've had this conversation multiple times now, where there's an entire group of people that what they do is they deliberately lose in round one so that they can be put into graded B, and then they slam home their champions. Right? Like they're psychopaths. Right? They're trying so hard to bypass everything. Like, why weren't you? I don't understand why they don't just play open. Right? Now, I have a couple UMA that I'm going to flash in front of you. I'm going to trust you to read. Okay? Like, if you really want to read through these, I'm going to let you pause and get through. But the short version I want you to understand is that, like, this is an okay UMA from back in the day that did better than average, but it probably would have been made fun of like, even back then, right? Like, there are people that, like, oh, only a 33% win rate? Pshaw. But realistically, this is a great Uma, right? Back in Gemini Cup when this Uma debuted, she absolutely freaking killed it. As a solo Uma, before taking into account the rest of the team, she still managed a 37.5 win rate. That means that even now, she would have done fairly good. She would have been in graded B, top of graded B at the very least, right? And notably, I know people were talking about, well, I could just run into some jobbers. Well, jobbers are kind of less real, like day by day, right? A lot of the jobbers have just left, right? A lot of the people who are really bad at the game aren't here anymore. And what they used to do is just they would grab whatever random team trial Uma they had that happened to have like the correct affinity and would just throw them in, right? And you're gonna get less and less of that as time goes on. So like I gotta ask you, like if you look at the random jobber Uma, the one who consistently beats the Jobber Uma, and then the last but not least is Kawakami Princess over here, right? With the S tier, and like I just like, oh, S is just a rank, cool. They have better stats than you. They know what skills work because they can also read just like you can, right? So they know what skills to take. Like, yes, sometimes they'll take extra skills, but like probably take it for granted that like part of the why you might lose a lot is because there are min maxers and graded too, and you are not going to beat a min maxing whale or a min maxing support only player, right? If they are dedicating their time to the game and are playing it as good as they can, and they're also dedicating their resources to make their Uma as powerful as possible, you probably aren't beating them if you aren't also doing the same. However, that's probably not true in open, all right? Part of why I'm so confident that you'll have a better time in open is because there's a literal ceiling, right? There is no cap in how strong a graded Uma can get. There is absolutely a cap on a open Uma, right? You can only get to 8,200. Are you telling me that you don't think you can get an Uma that's faster with a higher power rating and a better wit than this Uma sometimes to win, all right? And bear in mind, hey, you notice that wit stat? See how that wit stat's 401? You see that? Okay, so what does that mean? Well, that means that this Uma has like a 78% chance to proc either one of her recoveries. She can fail on a not zero odds, right? It's not completely out of the blue that she just doesn't hit her hits. And wouldn't you know it, if you think about it, what's the odds of that? 25% ish chance to fail, multiplied by 25% ish, right? You get, you get a real solid like 8.5%. Wow, look at that. That's really close to what they're, huh. Her top three rate is 88.8%. Oh, That represents that missing top 3% rate more or less represents how often she failed to hit both of her recoveries. You can absolutely beat this Uma when it fails her recoveries. And before you go, okay, well, why do I care about this Uma on the left in particular? Why do I care about this Daiwa Scarlet? This Daiwa Scarlet is part of the team that I took to a 98.3% win rate over in Gemini Cup. All right, this Daiwa Scarlet is terrifying, but you can beat her, right? Because again, you can't really make an Uma that's much stronger than this for open. It's super duper doable, right? And random odds will mean you can just win sometimes. Now, again, I'm not saying to never play graded. You can absolutely can. But keep in mind who you're competing with. You are competing with people who have deep access to the support card Uma. All right, the support credit card Uma. All right, they spent the carrots. They have bought the meta Uma, and that means that sometimes you're just going to lose, and there's nothing you could have done about it. Like literally nothing you could do about it, right? And like every time you spend on this, like okay, I run into this a lot. Someone will tell me, "Oh well, I'll just use my Uma into the team trials." Well, it turns out a lot of Uma that you dedicate for CMs aren't actually that good for team trials. You'll probably notice that earlier I said I can count on my hand how often I've dropped out of class 6. Uh, some of you are like counting on your hand how often you've gotten into class 6 in the first place, right? If you're in that group where you're like, man, I'm in class 5 all the time, I can't stay in class 6, that's probably a hint that you're spending a lot of time on your CMs and not enough on your team trials. And it's not going to fix itself until you allow yourself the time to switch over to open at least once. All right, especially if you have other games you want to play. I love Night Rain. I love Heroes of the Storm. I love Mechabellum, and that's just such a short list. I love other games, guys, and I know you do too. And I know that you don't want to burn out. I've seen so many people burn out. So many of my friends that used to play this game don't play this game anymore. Or if they do, it's like really idly as like while they're in the restroom, they'll open up Uma and like I don't want you to be restroom Uma people. I want you to be to love this game. Okay? And so I want to show you how to play open. But the how to play open video is going to be another video, okay? We're just save that for later. When I don't want this video is already like what 18 minutes long ish, 17 minutes long. I don't want to make it too much longer. Short version, so for those of you who like just want to skip to the end, like hear the big stuff, right? Why do I play open? Because I don't have the best cards, and you probably don't have the best cards. And even if you do, you can save a lot of time by sometimes switching to open. That time you save can be used to help you play other stuff and still enjoy life, or in turn to just improve your team trial stuff, right? They're very good reasons to play open, right? Until then, signing off. See y'all later with the how-to video.